So I've got 3 more Rahi to show off at the end of this video, but this video's main topic, I rewrote 2004 Bionicle. Kind of. I like it better, though. I think it kind of simplifies the story in some ways while adding more depth to the story in areas that I think kind of need it, and it even gives a little bit of explanation as to some of the events of 2001 through 2003. So let's just start. If you like this type of content, I'm Skybird, and I make internet videos, I guess, about Bionicle now. If you enjoy that type of content, then make sure you choose like and subscribe. Really helps out the channel. And without further ado, let's get into it. So in 2004, we are introduced to 6 main characters, obviously Toa, Lhikan as well. And so my version of the story starts with Toa Lhikan, who, under the realization that these Vahki are suddenly sort of plaguing the island of Metru Nui, going ballistic and disappearing, let's say, the Matoran of the island has decided that he's not enough. He can't keep up with the demand of these, taking care of these Vahki. And so he takes it upon himself, as he realizes he is towards the end of his Toa lifespan, slowly transitioning into a Turaga. He takes it upon himself to find and transform, if you will, recruit, if you will, 6 Matoran from Metru Nui to turn them into Toa in order to sort of up the number of Toa on the island and in each of the villages to try and at least fend off the Vahki. In so doing, and upon awakening that 6th Toa Metru, he lets them know, hey, I don't know what's going on here. The Vahki are doing things they're not supposed to, but maybe you can try and address Turaga Dume at the Coliseum. He's been a bit reclusive lately, but maybe he knows what's been going on. You can find him there. Of course, on the, well, I guess transforming that 6th Matoran into a Toa Metru. At this point, that is when Lhikan reduces to a Turaga. So there are now 6 brand new novice Toa Metru on the island of Metru Nui. This is getting redundant, but the point stands that they get to the Coliseum, where they are greeted by Akhmou, a very trustworthy face, yes. And so Akhmou tells them that in order to see Turaga Dume, what they need to do is, well, sort of prove themselves, right? And in order to do that, they need to find these 6 great discs, which there are a handful of Matoran on the island who may know where these are, so they're tasked with finding them, getting these discs, and then they are told that they need to imbue these discs with their Toa powers, transforming these great discs into Toa discs. I'll talk about those and why that's important in a moment. So, upon doing this, what they decide to do is they bring these discs back to Akhmou, who takes them in order to allow the Toa Metru into the Coliseum to talk to Turaga Dume. But what they don't know is that by giving Akhmou these discs imbued with their power, they are now separating themselves from the power. You see, these tie in to the Nuva Symbols. Kind of. My thought in my own headcanon is that the Nuva Symbols are something that has sort of always existed in Bionicle's history, right? At some point in ancient history, when the Toa Mata were first created, the Mata stones, I guess you could call them, were created alongside them in case, I guess, they ever got out of hand or whatever the case may be. You can have a story reason written as to why these exist. But the point stands that how these objects work, these Nuva Symbols work, is that by being separated from the Toa Mata or Toa Nuva by an adversary and then, you know, have that adversary do something like connect them together on a cube, I guess, as the Borakal do, it siphons the power, it pulls the power away from the Toa Nuva. These are much simpler in the sense that when these discs are taken by Akhmou, they are removed from the possession of the Toa Metru who had them, who made them. And because these Toa Metru are new, because they are novices, they're not aware that by imbuing their powers into these discs, they are basically giving up these powers powers when they give away the discs as well. So when the Toa Nuva enter the Coliseum, no longer carrying their discs, their power has been siphoned from them. They don't know it yet, but they gradually feel weaker as they are in there. Once they are confronted by Turaga Dume, Dume reveals himself to in fact be Makuta. And this is really strategically important because understand what happened. We know as an audience that Dume has released the Vahki, but the Toa Metru don't know that. Lhikan doesn't know that. I imagine Akhmou knows that, but maybe Akhmou does not know that this is actually Makuta in disguise. Maybe he's just doing something out of, well, self-service, right? But once he realizes that this is Makuta, things obviously change hands. So the idea here is that now that Makuta, I guess, realizes that all 6 of the Toa Metru are now out of power, right? They can be detained inside of the Coliseum, and there's no more Toa Lhikan, right? Because Toa Lhikan has now become his diminutive Turaga form by giving up his power. Essentially what has happened here is that Turaga Dume sort of played the long game and forced Lhikan's hand in a way, right? By releasing the Vahki when he did, he basically forced Lhikan to give up his own power in order to create these new Toa Metru. But the reason he did that is because Lhikan is experienced. Lhikan may be difficult to sort of lure into a trap like this, but these brand new novice Toa have no reason not to trust Dume. They don't know that he's Makuta in disguise and have no reason to not trust Akhmou or the Coliseum. Nothing here has sort of rung alarm bells. Maybe it would to an experienced Toa who understands that, yeah, Turaga can sometimes be bad too, right? So the point stands that Lhikan, now out of, well, Toa powers at the very least, in no way is a threat anymore to Dume. And now that the Toa Metru are detained inside of the Coliseum, Dume decides, all right, it's my time. I'm taking off, I'm taking flight, and it is my time on the throne of Metru Nui, I guess. But Akhmou, upon realizing that this is in fact Makuta and there's something more nefarious going on, has a sudden change of heart, decides he is going to go ahead and warn, that is lightning, he is going to go ahead and warn Turaga Lhikan that what Dume is up to and where the Toa Metru are being detained. So Lhikan makes his way to the Coliseum and eventually figures out that the only way to free the Toa Metru is by sacrificing himself, I guess. That obviously gives us the death of Lhikan in a way that I think feels a little more satisfactory, obviously, and feels a little more poetic to the story arc that we've been introduced to at this point. But also, why else would Turaga Dume need these Toa discs? Outside of just taking the power away from the Toa Metru, what this disc also does is it allows Turaga Dume or Akhmou, or through some process, to turn this into multiple of these. So now no longer are there only 6 great discs, but now there could be hundreds. And not only are these great discs, but they're imbued with the power of the Toa Metru. However you may, interpret that. Maybe the elemental powers, maybe the mask powers, maybe both. Whatever the case may be, it's locked in here, and part of that power is being distributed to these discs, which are being given to the Vahki. Because the Vahki are robots, they don't have access to elemental powers on their own, but by getting their hands on these have elemental powers, and these are projectiles. Thus, the Vahki now become stronger, more numerous. Obviously, they now are all equipped with projectiles, which they weren't before, so they're even greater of a threat, and there's no one to really save the island. Does that make sense? I think that's fairly compelling overall. And if we look at these Toa stones, if you will, these Toa Metru discs, whatever you want to call them, as a sort of bit of synonymous lore, let's say, with the Nuva Symbols, this could just be sort of the Metru Nui's modern take on what the Nuva Symbols were, right? In this case here, obviously being something a little easier to understand, we can see the Toa's face here, we can see the name of the Toa in the Matoran language, but at the point that the Nuva Symbols were written, maybe that was before the Matoran language was even a thing, right? So the symbols are designed in some ancient text, or ain't using hieroglyphs, for lack of a better term. I think it's a really interesting idea because it sort of positions Turaga Dume as this more compelling character who's smart but also willing to take risks, while also keeping him out of basically any danger and even out of sort of the public's eye, right? Because by making the Toa Metru get the discs themselves and by utilizing their power, he didn't have to do any of the dirty work. The Metru did it for him. And again, Dume didn't have to be seen being suspicious collecting all these discs, right? So it kind of plays in all directions. And it also turns Lhikan, or forces Lhikan's time frame of being a Toa shorter, right? It turns him into a Turaga, so even Lhikan can't really fight Turaga Dume, can't provide any sort of resistance to him. I think it's a really interesting idea. Is it perfect? No, surely not. I'm sure other people can pick apart little story problems with it. And again, this is headcanon. There are obviously things about this version of the story that would have to be sort of rewritten, and things about the existing story that we currently have that would also be rewritten as well, because as you notice, this is only half the story. I didn't mention anything about Turaga Dume or Makuta being defeated, because my idea is that he would continue into 2005, which I guess means I need to make a 2005 version of Makuta now. How I'm going to do that, I don't know. What function it's going to have, I don't know. I think I've painted myself into a corner here. All right, with all that being said, though, if you did enjoy this video, and if you enjoy this concept for the 2004 story, let me know that one down in the comments below. If you want to applaud the thunder, let me know that one, I guess, in the comments below too. Hopefully you guys are having a great day. And of course, as always, you can check out the Discord, Instagram, and Patreon, all of which are linked in the description. Before I go, as I mentioned, I have those Rahi down here. Let me go ahead and show you those very briefly. First off, the Chute Runner, which is an alternate model made from just Matau, but now it has been changed to actually be better. The legs actually have like a sort of an ankle joint here now, instead of being kind of wonky in their design, and the arms are actually able to be posed like as wings, so you could do more with them, right? So I think it looks generally better. It also stands up much better too, and that way it's a flight bird rather than a flightless bird like the field bird is, which is a build from Oniwa. Names are hard. All right, with that one out of the way, we also have the Fountain Frog, as you can see here, a build from Just No Kama. Mask on the bottom here, mask on the bottom of this one as well. And then, of course, Nuju's White Whale has been changed slightly. So it still has the ability to open the mouth, but as you see, the changes have all been made back here. Illegal connection incoming, though. This right here, this 12-tooth gear, is actually locked into the Metru head via those pinholes, which may damage the gear, I'm going to be honest. So if you wanted to do this yourself, but didn't want to replace that gear, just replace a voodoo ball on this and connect it here. And don't worry about connecting any of that. All right, I'll see y'all next one. Take care.